Welcome to the Self-Love Model. On this podcast, we have open-hearted and honest conversations about all things self-love and the journey of self-discovery. This podcast is for those on an everlasting journey of their own evolution, and most importantly, a safe space for us to heal together. I'm your host, Sid, and welcome to your self-love session. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Self-Love Model. It is a beautiful day because you are listening to the Self-Love Model. Today, we are talking about the concept of giving ourselves permission to do what we want to do in life. And I was inspired to talk about this topic because of a conversation I had recently with my friend at the gym. I almost said her name, but I want to respect people and their privacy. So, for today's purposes, we're gonna call her Mary. So I was talking to my friend Mary at the gym, and she mentioned to me about how she has a tripod at home, but she never brings it to the gym with her. And because she feels weird about it and that she just feels like she's not qualified. And when she said that, that's what really caught my attention and stuck with me. And I was like, what do you mean you're not qualified? Because to me, she is very much qualified. And I feel like you don't need a certain type of qualification to want to film yourself at the gym. Like, you don't need any special reason, but I can understand why she felt that way because that is definitely something that I can relate to and that I have felt in the past. And it's something that I've worked through myself as well, but it does still show up from time to time. Now, here are a couple reasons of why Mary might feel not qualified. One, um, maybe she feels like you have to be a fitness influencer to film yourself at the gym, right? I know that's definitely something I have personally thought. And when I first started recording myself, it's scary, it's nervous, and as silly as it sounds, it's a real thing that a lot of us go through. It definitely took me a while to build my courage to actually film myself in the gym, even though I wanted to for a long time before that. It took building my confidence in myself and to just do it and to not really care what people think. So that's like reason number two is that more that she might worry about what other people may think of her. And what I have to say to that is that fuck them. Guys, I hesitated on that because I'm still trying to decide if I want to cuss on the podcast or not. So sometimes I like hesitate a little before I do it, but I mean, I do on a normal daily life, so why not? What I have to say about caring about what other people think is that fuck them, and you're going to feel so free. Oh my god. Okay. And you're going to feel sorry about that. And you're going to feel so free when you just stop giving a fuck about what other people think. Because it's your life and you're the one living in it. If you care about what other people think, I want you to really just remember this. And I know it's going to take time to slowly feel confident enough in yourself to be able to show up authentically you and to not care what other people think because you're out here living your best life. So it's definitely going to take time to build that up, but the more you practice and the more that you are aware of it, the better you're going to get and the more that it's just going to feel like you and who you are at the core. So reason number one is that maybe she felt like she wasn't a fitness influencer and maybe she just associates that with that and she herself hasn't embraced that role or that identity yet. And what I say to that is that a lot of times when we feel like we're not something else yet, the best thing to become that thing is to start embodying it. you got to start act like the person you want to show up. And that is when you're practicing your energy and then you're getting in alignment and on the same frequency as the person or the identity that you want to be, is by acting like it. And reason number two was that she was worried about what other people may think. And the last reason could be that she just doesn't want to take up too much space in the gym, you know? And I feel like that's probably like a small thing that she could just work through easily. And honestly, that obviously just takes spatial awareness. It is a thing. If the gym is too busy, like put a tripod away, you know? You don't got to record everything. So definitely just being conscious and aware of your surroundings is always important. And now when you're seeking that permission in your life, you're really seeking the external validation. So the root cause of needing permission from others, if you look deeper, it stems from the need for external validation, which is a totally normal human thing to crave and need. We all need a little bit of external validation in our lives from time to time. Like sometimes we just need a good girl squad to hype us up. But the problem arises when you start to depend on that external validation. And when you're not aware of it, it can end up hurting you and the people around you as well. And now you're like, how can that affect the people around me? Good question. So, when you are seeking external validation, it can affect the people around you because you start to go to those people for what you need to feel loved and to feel valued and to feel worthy. And that's when you can create that dependency on them and can become too dependent on that person for the self reassurance that you need when you should be giving that to yourself. Always make sure that you are giving yourself the love that you seek in other people, because we want to love ourselves first. At the end of the day, if we learn to love ourselves truly and fully, that is how we show the people around us how they should and can love us. And the more capacity that we have to love ourselves, in turn, that the more capacity we can feel the love from others and the love that we can receive as well. When you start to really rely and depend on those people for that, and so when that happens, what you have to realize is that you are never going to be in control of other people. The only person you are in control of is yourself. And when you start to look outwardly to people for what you need, you can't control them. You can't control their actions. And when they don't act accordingly to how you expect and want them to act, that's, you see what I'm saying? That's when there's going to be the tension. And that's where you might to develop negative feelings for them. And I'm speaking on this because I've definitely experienced this myself. And this is something that I've also struggled with and have had to look inward at myself to look deeper and to work on that within myself. Okay, so now on the pod, we get past the surface level and your girl likes to get deep. So now let's look at the root cause of why you can seek external validation in your life. Because why do we need external validation, right? So, reason number one, we are going to start with societal conditioning. I feel like this is also something I talk about on the podcast because I feel like the society, it's a huge part of how, like, that is what influences us. So, that's why it's very important to be aware of what is being fed into our heads and to really look at what you want to intentionally absorb and have inside of your mind. Because without us knowing, we are constantly being because without us knowing, we are constantly being fed an information, a belief, and a conditioning. And slowly over time, if we're not aware of those thoughts, it's going to brainwash us, okay? I know I sound really serious, but this is serious, okay? But yeah, societal conditioning, obviously, the social media. Social media is designed for us to want to seek that external validation. Social media intensifies our need for external validation, and that is all a part of the game, because when we get those external validations, those likes, those comments, those shares, it fires off a hormone, a happy hormone for us, and it makes us feel good. But when we start to focus too much on that, it can be harmful, because then we can start to let it affect our confidence and our self-esteem whenever a post doesn't do well. Um so that's something I've definitely had to learn to be okay with, and that because at the end of the day, I want to create work that feels meaningful to me, and that's what makes me feel good. I don't want to create work for other people and for just to get likes, because for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, for what? I want to create an impact. I want to create more than just getting those engagement because it makes you look good. So that's something that has helped me. I think just remembering your values and your purpose and what you're doing. I think it's easy to get lost in the trap of creating content, of like getting all these likes, views, and all of that. But I think for me, at the end of the day, I want to remember my vision, my purpose, and what I'm brought here to do. Another societal conditioning is when we were kids, we basically are raised to want external validation. Like I said, it is a very natural human part of us to have that, because we want to fit in, we want to be in a tribe. That's how you survived back in the day. So naturally, that's what we're going to want. So at a young age, we've learned to seek external validations from those around us through our parents. Anytime we did good in school, they tell us good job. Anytime we were good at something, they will affirm us, or at least some parents did. And we also sought external validation from our teachers when it comes to how well we're doing, grades, all of that. So now that we know all this, it's more important to find our voice as an artist and bring what we want to bring into the world. Another reason we may seek external validation is that we have a fear of judgment or abandonment. So I'm going to speak on abandonment because that's something that I struggle with personally. I have a fear of abandonment. I know. I know. Such a wounded child. But yes, that is something that I struggle with. When when you begin on your healing journey, you're going to go through a lot of changes. And the journey itself is going to be so worth it and beautiful in the end. But the process of when you're going through that transformation is going to be hard. It's going to be painful, and you're going to lose people. And that's something that's definitely happened for me on my journey, especially like when I first was really deep in the healing. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually getting emotional talking about it. But I think that I'm feeling extra emotional right now because it feels like right now in my life. Okay, so it is actually the next day as I am finishing this episode, because last night as I was recording, when I got to this last segment, your girl was getting emotional. I got emotional, definitely cried a little, and I feel like I needed to let that out. And honestly, I just went to bed afterwards. So here we are the next day finishing this episode. But let's get back to what I was saying about losing people in our lives on our healing journey. And the reason I got so emotional about that is because that is something that I'm currently feeling like it is happening in my life. I'm feeling a shift in my life, and I just feel like I'm someone who I as humans, we get attached to people, and I'm such a ride or die in my relationships, and I fight for the people that I love. So I think that when I start to feel out of alignment in certain relationships, it can be hard for me to come into terms with that. So that's something that I'm definitely experiencing in my personal life, and that's why I started to feel emotional. A lot of times we can experience the fear of abandonment when we feel ourselves shifting in our identity, when we're wanting to become someone different. And a lot of times, the people in our life, they're so used to a version of us that sometimes maybe we are afraid to show up as who we want to be because we don't want to make the people in our lives uncomfortable. So we decide to stay who we've been because we are afraid of losing those people in our lives. But that is a part of the journey, and it's a hard part of the journey. But you have to remember that the people who are meant to be in your life, they will learn and adapt, because as humans, we're also very good at adapting. And the people who are meant to be by your side and in your life, they will adapt and they will love this new version of you. And if not, that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're forever it doesn't mean that they're not ever going to be in your life ever again. It could just mean that in this period of your life, as you're going through a transition, as you're becoming this new person, that maybe right now you are not in alignment, so you can take some space from each other. But I feel like nothing is permanent, and you never know in the future what could bring you guys back. And reason number three for us seeking external validation is when we have low self esteem. So, now what is self esteem, right? Self esteem is your overall sense of self worth and the feeling of value you place on yourself. So, when you're someone with a low self worth and self esteem, that's when you tend to doubt your own abilities and your values. And that's why you can tend to look to other people to help you feel a sense of worthiness. And low self esteem can often stem from our childhood experiences. A lot of things that shape us who we are, it all starts from our childhood. And low self esteem is something that when I first began my healing journey, that I knew it was something that I really needed to work on, because I knew that was something I had to build myself. So these are some of the reasons why we can tend to seek external validation in our lives. And of course, there's many other reasons why we can seek external validation, but these are the top three reasons that I feel like are very common and that covers our basis. And now, as an adult, the wonderful thing about being an adult is that we now have the skills and abilities to reframe all of this and to really understand and have the self-awareness to change this for ourselves. So now on the third half of this episode, I'm going to provide us some steps and tips and tricks to how we can begin the work of validating ourselves. So tip number 1 is practicing self-care and self-love. So, working on the relationship with ourselves is going to be the most important thing that we can do to begin any work, because everything begins with us. And when we start to work on ourselves, it translates and reflects into the world around us. And one way that we can really begin our self love and self care is by practicing self compassion. Why is self compassion important? Self compassion is important because this is how we talk to ourselves, and the way we talk to ourselves matters. So, when it comes to self compassion, the thing that I always think about with this concept is that if you're going through a hard time, or if there's something you don't like about yourself, and really listen to the way you're talking to yourself, and instead of you talking to yourself, imagine that you are talking to your best friend or your sister. A lot of times when we talk to ourselves without realizing, we can have a really harsh inner critic voice, and we're often our hardest critic. And something that we all hear a lot is that, oh, yeah, I'm my hardest critic. I'm very hard on myself. Like, that's very common, and most of us are like that with ourselves. But something that I try and work on and focus on is, instead of being my biggest critic, is being my own biggest cheerleader and my own best friend. And how would I talk to my best friend? And a lot of times when it comes to our friends, our sisters, talk to them with we talk to them with love, and we're gentle with them because we don't want to hurt them. And if you think about it, why would you want to hurt yourself? So this is why self-compassion is so important when we're learning how to validate ourselves. And tip number 2 is look at your strengths. We all have something that we're good at. We all have our natural strengths, and a lot of times we're so close to it that we don't see them clearly. So take the time to discover what your character's strengths are. And if you're having a hard time figuring out what your strengths are, a good practice to figure it out is by asking your close friends, people who know you very well. Just simply ask them, hey, what am I good at? Like, give me my top 5 or top 10 strengths. And you can ask the 5 closest people in your life, and oftentimes you'll find some common denominators between all the answers. So, taking the time to remind ourselves of what we're good at can help us feel confident and valuable to those around us. And now, tip number 3, now that you have figured out what you're good at and what your values are, use those values and your strengths as a guide. So now, rather than looking externally to someone else to validate us, we can now turn to our values and our strengths and remind us of what matters, and to check in with ourselves to make sure that our actions and behaviors are aligned with our values. And tip number 4 is to celebrate yourself. I feel like this is something I'm personally really bad at, and I really want to be better, and something that I really wanna be better at it. I feel like a lot of times I will accomplish something and do something cool in my life, and then I'm like, "Okay, cool, like, I did that," and then on to the next. Like, I am so quick with it, and I'm always, like, on to the next thing, that I feel like a lot of times there's certain things I'm like, "Man, I wish I would've taken the time to really slow down and enjoy that moment and just be proud of myself." And speaking of that, something that I really wanna do, and I'm gonna put it out there so that's out in the world, is that I really want to have a self-love party, a celebration for the podcast. Since I have been doing this for over a year now, like, I really wanted to do this earlier in the year, to have like a 1 year anniversary type of thing. And I definitely still want to do that some point this year, but I just have not had like the headspace or energy to think about it. Because right now I'm working on the next self love session. So that's been taking up a lot of my headspace and energy. But I'm hoping that after that, I can have more room to dedicate to other projects and hopefully maybe bring this into life. But celebrating ourselves doesn't have to be like a huge grand gesture either. It can be something as simple as reflecting on something that you're really proud of and just allowing yourself to really sit and feel and perhaps journal about it. And I've had so many times in my healing journey that I'll have certain days where I just will be doing my work, and I'll just all of a sudden sit and really just look around me and just feel really grateful that I could to sit here and in this moment record a podcast episode, even though it's been such a struggle, like this whole entire journey of being a podcaster. It has not been easy, but I'm so grateful that I get to do this, do what I love, and to do something with my voice and to grow as a person through it. So there's been so many times in my journey where I've had those little moments where I can really sit and just take everything in and really be grateful and be proud of how far I have come. And I think it's in those little moments that really just makes it all so worth it. And tip number 5 is to surround yourself with people who genuinely support you. I know this may sound like I'm contradicting with myself since we're talking about how to stop seeking external validation, but we are humans and we are creatures who thrive in community. And I just believe that is what makes life so much better is when you're in community and when you can have people around you who support and uplift you, it's because life is so much better that way when you get to celebrate your wins with others who genuinely support. Find those people who expand you, who uplift you, and I think the more that you are intentional and aware of this, the more that you really will start to see who in your life are those expanders, are your true cheerleaders. And tip number 6, take a social media break. It is okay to take a break from social media. There's the saying, you gotta disconnect to connect. And this is something that I feel like I actually want to be better about. I feel like your girl be too connected. So I think that I want to actually see how I can really implement this in my life, like to where maybe this is something I do like one day a month where I just do not get on social media, don't talk to anyone type of thing. But I want to figure something out to where I can really be intentional about disconnecting. But when we take the time to really disconnect, we connect on a deeper level to what matters our loved ones, our surroundings, and most importantly, our connection to ourselves. Okay, and now last but not least, tip number 7 is to practice self awareness. And I know, I'm sure you guys probably saw this one coming if you listen to all my episodes because every single topic all comes down to self-awareness. I save this one for the last tip because it is definitely the most important tip and something that I want you guys to have in your mind as we come to the end of the episode. Because the more that we understand who we are, the better we become at moving forward in our path without needing others to tell us who we need to be, where we need to be, and what we are. There's been a lot of things in my life where I can see how I've really taken the action to do something and that has completely changed my life. And it started with me giving myself the permission to show up as a person that I want to be. And one example that I can think of from one of my past episodes is actually the self-love session I did with Electra, which I will link in the show notes if you guys haven't listened to that episode and want to give it a listen. In that episode, she talks about how when she first began her modeling journey, how there were people in her life who were doubters and people who were like, oh, basically saying, oh, you're not a model. But regardless of what other people were saying, she herself decided that she was in fact a model, and that's how she stepped into that role and gave herself the permission to pursue her dreams and to go after her heart's desires. So everything begins with ourselves, and that's the same thing with my own modeling journey. Is when I first decided I wanted to start dabbling in modeling and start doing some shoots here and there for fun, I had to I had to look at my own beliefs, my own limiting beliefs, and see what was holding me back and what I needed to release and let go of for me to step into this new identity. And I'm so glad that I was able to work past through my own limiting beliefs and give myself the permission instead of waiting for other people to give me the opportunities or to see the potential in me for me to begin. And I remember very vividly that that was something I decided to do for myself. I was like, you know what? I am not going to wait for other people's I am not going to wait for other people to invite me to go do things, to go to photo shoots or whatever it is. I wanted to create opportunities for myself because I didn't want to wait around and I wanted to take action. And that's what I did. And once I changed my own self belief, my own self concept, that's when things around me began to change and opportunities started to come. And slowly, I really started to embody and was able to show up as the self-love model. With that being said, guys, I hope that you can begin this journey of validating yourself and to give yourself the permission to show up as who you want to be. This work is going to be a lifelong journey. It's going to be a constant challenge. And I believe in you. I believe that you can do this. And everything begins with a decision. So give yourself the permission today to show up as the person you've always wanted to be. Before I leave you guys today, I want to leave you guys with a little inspirational quote. The quote goes like this: Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noises of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. By Steve Jobs. All right, my loves, that concludes today's episode. Thank you again for spending your time with me. I appreciate you guys so much. And let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Did you guys take something away from it? Was it informative? Is it something that you also struggle with in your life? And what is something that you've always wanted to do but haven't allowed yourself to do? So feel free to DM me if you have any thoughts to anything I just shared, and I would love to hear what you guys thought. On that note, guys, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next episode of the Self Love Model. Love you guys. Bye.